Wake up. Wake up, you
Salutations! Let's talk Blood West, not to be confused with action roleplay game Weird West, or recently released third-person shooter Evil West, and most certainly not to be mistaken for hit rapper Kanye West, is a video game set in the Wild West. Enjoying your peaceful eternal slumber while floating through the void of the afterlife? Well, too bad, since you've been resurrected by a bunch of restless spirits stuffed into a sheep's skull.
In one piece.
Worse still is that it turns out your resuscitation wasn't the only bit of whimsical witchcraft cast upon these sandy cliffs and canyons. Animated dead, birdmen, gold diggers of the late 1840s variety, and plenty of other assorted cursed creatures stalk the Badlands, all stemming from a source of corruption that we've been forcefully brought back to uncover. What kind of corruption? Here's a hint. It's gold. Cursed gold. No, not these little nuggets of it, though they are an excellent source of monetary gain. We're talking about the big boy stuff. A ceremonial dagger stained with the blood of hundreds, a gilded pot used to cook up that forbidden soup, and more. But let's ignore that objective entirely and instead first help out the local shaman, who was kind enough to bury our body. Thus, we enter the old burial ground of the shaman's tribe and find it filled with undead. This is a good time to discuss combat of the melee variety, including stealth. Only important thing to know is that being airborne makes absolutely no noise, just like in real life, which is why I commit all my muggings by pouncing down upon my victims from 5 stories up. With that sorted, I'm free to empty out the content of the packet, leaving it to be swept up by the passing breeze. Really breathe in that fresh air. Oh gone. Oh, it's in my mouth. Moving further along the tracks reveals another campsite with a solitary stranger who doesn't seem particularly trusting. Thankfully, the man named Jim Hooper is up for a bit of conversation and even shows off his wares. The most interesting of which being a rather unique revolver, which is a perfect segue into the other aspects of combat, being ranged. Now, besides a literal stick and string, there's also plenty of Western weaponry at your disposal, like the Winchester and shotgun primaries, as well as a revolver or sawed-off as sidearms. But that's not all, as spread throughout the map and sold by traders are unique variants of these guns, like the Decapitator, located within the church's bone orchard, or the previously mentioned Orb of Light. Moving on, just like gun variety, there also exists different ammo types, silver, gold, and best of all, fire. After receiving a tip that strange events have been happening around the church, we make our way into town, taking a detour towards the saloon, and god damn, I am deathly afraid of women. Reaching the church and heading beneath it through a series of caves and tunnels packed full of enemies eventually leads to a large open space, with a sizable golden chalice resting atop an altar at the far end. And after those present generously donated the object, it's time to head out the back entrance, encountering only a small group of enemies. And also this freakishly large beast that looks like it could snap me in half like a twig. Thankfully, it seems like it's allergic to copious amounts of lead. But wait, what's this? Looting the Vindigo, yes with a V, reveals its still beating heart, which strangely has positive and negative effects attached to it. I sure hope this isn't leading up to a section of the video with an over-explanation of an aspect of the game. Oh whoops, artifacts. Funky little trinkets that can be purchased from traders, found throughout the map, and ripped from the cold, dead corpses of slain monsters, granting effects with varying levels of good and bad, like increased stamina, extra health at the cost of suffering from hemophilia, and lots more. But that's not all. After enough mindless slaughter, one might level up, leading to gaining points for skills. This is where the fun really begins. Besides the basic buffs like increased health, there's the manipulation of time and space itself. or just ignore everything else and spec all your points into melee because it's funny. Extra credit if this is combined with chugging down multiple bottles of moonshine and blasting Black Banjo Core to instill fear. But besides speedrunning a crippling addiction to alcohol, there exists other more unique brews to sample, like that magical airport jungle juice, which is all well and good, but we've got some gold to steal, retrieve. Let's make this quick. So quick in fact that I already did some mining off screen and picked up this block of gold ore, leaving us with 4 more items to collect. Or 3 because I completely lied about picking up the chalice first because it made for a silly narrative, so here's a gold star. As for what remains, find them yourself. We've received a curious looking key from the totem, and judging by the shape, it should be obvious where it goes. That's right, it goes in the square hole. After cracking open an ancient cursed cavern with the boys, we make our way inside, retrieving the last bits of loot before the big fight. Stepping up to the edge of the final encounter provides a view of what's to come. In a shocking twist, nature was the real villain the entire time, after chugging down enough assorted beverages and mystical brews to not only kill a horse but then also immediately resurrect it. The battle begins. Turns out fighting a massive tree is as exciting as it sounds, though the spikes rupturing up from the ground do add some spice, along with the occasional spirit or two, and it even throws a couple Vindigos into the mix, all of which are promptly melted with golden 12 gauge, tree included. With the tree vanquished and corruption cleansed, my purpose here has been concluded, and I may finally be laid to rest. Is what I would have said if not for Chapter 2. Dragged once more from my cozy relaxation in the endless void of purgatory, I'm tasked with solving yet another spout of corruption, except this time this totem bastard doesn't even know the cause, meaning I'll have to actively converse with the locals. After a lovely conversation with the masked lady, I need to gain her trust, so I'm tasked with locating 2 missing people. A priest in the nearby fort, and a small child hiding out at the sawmill. Wasting no time, I step out from the cave into Florida. But it's not just a change of scenery. New enemies, new allies, and even more weapons and artifacts than ever before, all waiting to be discovered. Starting with the fort, entering from the lower sections, we're greeted by some new faces, including cracked-out crocodiles, average gun-owning Floridians, and Drowner. I hardly know. Climbing higher up into the fort and eliminating anything that might stand in the way eventually leads to the priest, holed up in the tallest point. He requests the retrieval of a holy artifact with which he might brew holy potions, and thankfully I've already picked it up from the lower area. 1 down, 1 more to find. But first, to business. Turns out the priest, as a man of God, is well versed in spirits. As for why he's chosen such an enticing place to set up residence is due to an unknown disease that he suffers from, one which eats away at him. He's heard rumor, nay, prophecy, of a supposed cure, but that's not all. As the masked lady overheard this conversation, and has thus shown interest in the cure, no doubt foreshadowing a very difficult choice in the future. Completely unrelated, but I gifted her a flower from the swampy waters, and also learned that Annabelle's, or on first name basis, favorite type only blooms in places touched by flames. So time to set out to increase my favorability, and find that missing child or something. Heading over to the sawmill and making our way down into the basement leads to a peculiar summoning circle with a plushie placed in the center. Further inside and through some tunnels reveals the lost child by the name of Twen, who was seeking out the doll we acquired earlier, and will now be returning to camp. Now, more importantly, I've got a flower to find. This extensive search leads up to a path towards an old burned-down building. Unfortunately, I'll have to deal with the Vindigo's older brother before moving forward, but it's nothing a healthy dose of 12 gauge can't solve. Searching around the charred remains reveals the sought-after flower. But there's more. Climbing atop the building is where a unique variant of the Buffalo rifle can be found. A single-shot rifle chambered in long cartridges that hits like a truck. But why use regular ammunition when explosive nitro rounds exist, which are perfect for hunting small game? Returning to the safe zone to deliver the flower, I've gained their trust and can finally begin asking about the great evil present within these swamps. This leads to a man made of wood atop the safe zone. It appears he and an undead much like myself arrived in this place in an attempt to quell the very same evil I search for now. But that undead was ripped into pieces and spread across the land. This information allows the totem to more precisely detect the assorted bits, one of which being a rather stylish hat located in the alligator farm I've stumbled upon previously. In a stroke of luck, located nearby to the farm is a circle of stones and spirits, with the aforementioned cure at the center. There's also this fancy crossbow. The crossbow is similar to the buffalo rifle, only able to fire a single shot at a time, and also being vastly improved with explosives. As for the cure, it seems to only be enough for one dose, meaning I'll have to make the difficult choice of I gave it to Annabelle. This leaves 2 more scraps of undead to find, and what better time to give the bow a second chance than right now. There's even this brand new variant with a unique effect, which definitely isn't going to be extremely broken. During that blood-soaked carnage, I chanced upon the cavern full of cultists, where the second piece of undead, his 6-shooter, was located. The last item on the shopping list can be found within the town's graveyard, locked away in a coffin with undead nearby. After sorting them out, all that's left is to unlock the chains binding the coffin lid and open it up to reveal, then returning all the parts to the totem and letting it work that mystical magic to summon the undead back to the land of the living. The undead says he knows how to defeat the evil, but I'll have to complete yet another fetch quest to do it, obtaining assorted materials from hunting beasts, and naturally I've got the perfect weapon to complete such a task. With the dogs obliterated, teeth ripped from the mouth of a cultist alongside a big leech and pretty flower, the task is done. Using these ingredients, a ritual is started, and Big Brim Boy over here was kind enough to lay out special traps for the cursed beast. And finally, the main event can begin, starting by lighting up all the traps and waiting for the beast to trigger it, each time increasing the damage dealt to the monster. With the giant weakened, I step forward, shotgun loaded with golden 12 gauge in hand. Upon firing this first shot, a mythic battle shall commence. Wait, hold on.